Coming up on the Rockbridge Report.
Didn't say what that congresswoman said. Didn't say it at all.
While the war of words concerning President Trump's handling of grief messages to families of fallen soldiers continues to escalate, the Pentagon is looking into what really happened in the ambush that left 4 American soldiers dead in West Africa.
And a white nationalist scheduled speech tonight at the University of Florida has federal and local officials bracing for potential protests.
Reporter Gus Cross will be in the studio to tell you about a planned revival of old civil rights organization in Rockbridge County.
And later, see how county officials say we're not Colorado. They still enforce marijuana laws here.
Reporter Caroline Leak will report to us live from downtown Buena Vista, where a business owner is protesting the dismissal of his planned hostel. All that and more next on the Rockbridge Report. Welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Brennan Black.
And I'm Aspen Moraif. It's an instance of he said, she said, as President Trump continues to deny claims made by Democratic Congresswomen that he made insensitive comments to the widow of 4 soldiers killed in Niger 2 weeks ago. Reporter Kristen Holmes has the story.
Didn't say what that congresswoman said. Didn't say it at all.
President Trump facing renewed criticism today over his handling of the deaths of 4 U.S. servicemen, denying claims he made insensitive comments to the widow of slain Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, overheard by a Democratic congresswoman traveling with the family to retrieve the soldier's body.
He said to the wife, well, I guess he knew what he was getting into. How insensitive can you be?
A family member of Johnson's confirming the account. President Trump tweeting, Democrat Congresswoman totally fabricated what I said to the wife of a soldier who died in action, and I have proof. Sad. The White House adding,
But there were several people in the room from the administration that were on the call.
Johnson and 3 other soldiers killed 2 weeks ago during an ambush by 50 ISIS-affiliated fighters in Niger. The Defense Department now reviewing the sequence of events as questions remain. It took 12 days for the president to comment on the incident, Monday shifting blame on his predecessors, claiming falsely that they rarely or never called families of fallen soldiers. Later referencing the death of the Marine's son of his chief of staff, 4-star General John Kelly, to back up his accusations.
As far as other representatives, I don't know. I mean, you could ask General Kelly, did he get a call from Obama?
In Washington, I'm Kristen Holmes.
Florida's federal and local officers are bracing for potential protests as the white nationalist Richard Spencer is scheduled to speak at the University of Florida tonight. The highly controversial visit comes in wake of violence that occurred in Charlottesville, Virginia, between white nationalists and counter-protesters 2 months ago. Florida's Governor Rick Scott has declared a state of emergency, and protesters are reportedly already arriving at the university's campus.
Today marks the deadline for Catalan leaders to clarify their position on their independence from Spain. The Spanish government said it would begin the process of imposing direct rule on Catalonia if the region did not back off its plans of secession. Earlier this month, the region voted to break ties with Spain after decades of fighting for its independence. Over 90% of the 2 million voters supported the region's secession. Spanish officials say Catalan vote is unconstitutional.
Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke for 3.5 hours at the televised 19th Communist Party Congress on Wednesday in Beijing. The meeting is held only twice every decade. Last night, President Xi laid out a plan to increase China's global dominance. The president says he plans to strengthen China's reputation as a military and economic power. He also stressed the importance of wiping out corruption and opening China to more foreign investors. Police apprehended a suspect yesterday after they say he shot 5 people in Delaware. Officials consider the suspect, Radi Labib Prince, a career criminal. Andy Rose reports.
Wounded 2 others early Wednesday morning at the remodeling business where he had only been working for a short time.
Around 8:58 this morning, a report of a shooting at Advanced Granite Solutions. Deputies were on the scene within 4 minutes, arriving at 9:02 a.m. where they discovered 5 people suffering from gunshot wounds.
Prince shot another man, an acquaintance, hours later at a car dealership in Delaware. Although the victim was shot in the head, he survived and was able to describe the car Prince was driving.
Our officers actually saw the vehicle leaving the scene. We were able to give a short chase, but lost the vehicle going northbound on 30th and Market Street.
The convicted felon has been arrested 42 times and racked up 15 felony convictions, according to the police chief.
He was walking down the street. When he saw that they had spotted him, he actually took off running, threw the gun, and they were able to apprehend him about 75 feet later and recover the gun. And we're very lucky that it came to the conclusion it did.
37-year-old Prince was eventually captured in Delaware following a manhunt that spanned multiple states. I'm Andy Rose reporting.
29 U.S. states and Washington, D.C. have legalized marijuana, but Virginia is not one of those states. Bryn McCarthy talked to one man who learned a painful lesson about the difference.
Local residents, as well as college students who come here from other states, have run into trouble with Virginia's marijuana laws. Chris Bilius, the Commonwealth's attorney for Rockbridge County and the city of Lexington, explains these laws.
Virginia still has criminalized marijuana possession and distribution, of course, of any kind of drug, including marijuana. That's not changed or diminished. There is in Virginia what's called the first offender program. So if you've not previously been convicted of a marijuana or a drug-related offense, you can have that charge dismissed if you successfully complete the program.
Bilius notes that it is very uncommon for a person to be arrested solely for marijuana, and that there are usually other drugs or offenses involved. But one person was arrested for marijuana possession alone. He has chosen to remain unidentified and off camera. This person did, however, complete the first offender program.
We got pulled over in a car that had weed in it, and then the officers asked who it was. I said it was mine. He then proceeded to search the car and search our persons, and told us it would be no big deal if we don't have any other drug offenses on our record.
He then had to pay fines totaling around $2,000, complete 50 hours of community service, meet weekly with the first offender program's required class, submit to drug testing, and meet with his probation officer every 2 months in order to complete the program and remove this charge from his record. He feels that this was not a just punishment for having less than half an ounce of marijuana in his possession, and he feels that marijuana should be legal in Virginia.
It is frustrating that had I done this couple, 50, 100 miles north or south, right, or anywhere in any other state, it would have not been a year of my time, that much money, and just that much patronizing and talking down to like I'm a drug addict.
Bilius acknowledges that the national trend is to decriminalize, if not legalize, marijuana, but he still feels that it should not be legalized.
There are states where it's legal to use. If you want to use marijuana, it's a free country. You can move anywhere you want in this world, especially if you're a young person. Move to Colorado, move to Washington State. You smoke all the marijuana you want. It's not against the law.
While Bilius does support Virginia's choice not to legalize or decriminalize marijuana, he does, however, support the use of medical marijuana, even though it too is illegal in Virginia. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Bryn McCarthy here in Lexington.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, the Buena Vista City Council is revisiting a rezoning request for residential hostels.
And later, an independent candidate is running against a seasoned Republican for a seat in the House of Delegates. We'll have a Rockbridge Report profile next.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who wants to care of you.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job!
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
A historic civil rights organization is getting a new start in Rockbridge County this fall. I spoke with reporter Gus Cross earlier this afternoon and asked him why a new local chapter is forming now.
Well, there used to be a few in the Rockbridge area, and they were particularly active from the 1950s to the 90s, but they slowly started to fade away, and in the early 2000s, the last chapter disbanded once its leadership left the area.
And just for a reminder, what is the NAACP again?
It is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and it is a civil rights organization that started in 1909 in response to a series of incidents of violence towards the black community.
And what things, once formed, does the new chapter hope to address?
They've, particularly in the last decade, had more and more reports of discrimination in employment, students receiving more harsh punishments, and just not a lot of accurate history in particular to the civil rights movement and the Civil War. And those are the main goals that they hope to address.
And when will the new chapter be fully recognized and active?
So they had their nominations meeting 2 weeks ago. And so they elected people for 5 different positions: president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and assistant treasurer. And they will have elections on December 5th once they've advertised properly for 30 days and enough people have had enough time to nominate themselves.
A new small business seemed ready to launch in Buena Vista until some apparent miscommunications in a city council meeting there. Adam Stanley planned to buy a house and turn it into a hostel to serve hikers coming down from the Appalachian Trail. Reporter Caroline Leake joins us live from Buena Vista with a look at her story from rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.
Thanks, Ashley.
Cool mornings and warm afternoons. We are really in autumn now.
James Laverty is here with an even bigger change in the weather. James?
Well, Aspen couldn't have said it better. This truly has been one of those mornings where you put a coat on in the morning, and by the time you're at lunch, you're in a shirt and t-shirts. The high for today is 75 degrees with a low of 38 degrees, which gets us to within 10 degrees of both our record highs and record lows. The barometric pressure is 30.23 inches with low wind speeds of 6 miles an hour and the low humidity at 30%. Our current regional conditions, so all across Virginia, mostly sunny skies in the lower 70s. Roanoke at 71, Lexington, Buena Vista, Stanton at 73, along with Charlottesville, and down in Covington's a little chillier with 63 degrees. Now for our weekend forecast. The weekend starts off Friday through Sunday with some warm, sunny skies, highs of 78, 76, and 75, and some lows of 45, 46, and 50 on Sunday. It's going to cool down on Monday and Tuesday as we get down to 73 and 68 high, a 53 and 42 degree low on Tuesday, and it's looking like we're going to have some rain starting on Monday evening that should go all the way through Tuesday night, and it's looking like it's going to clear up Wednesday. Aspen, back to you, and that's our weather.
A seventh-generation family farm is expanding past the butcher shop and into the meat retail store in Rockbridge County. Noya Zhou has the story.
After years of planning, the local Potter's family opened Cattleman's Market 3 weeks ago, just east of Lexington. The business not only offers USDA-inspected raw meat, but also byproducts of meat, such as spaghetti sausage, sausage gravy, and meatloaf.
But the main thing that we're trying to do here is not only continue to sell our raw beef products that we've been selling, but to add value to that by cooking and curing those products.
The family has been farming for 7 generations. Now they raise cattle, sheep, chicken, and seafood on their 2,000-acre farm. Since 2012, they have been processing meat at the butcher shop called Donald's Meat Processing. The small retail counter there has moved to Cattleman's Market and expanded. Cattleman's Market is now the biggest local meat retail place in Rockbridge County.
Before we were limited to just our raw meat sales, and now I feel like the potential is endless in what we have the ability to do as far as what we can make our meat into and how we can provide that as a value added to your plate.
In the future, Potter said they plan to have more grab-and-go options for consumers. The family farm also provides its Buffalo Creek meat for Southern Inn, Red Hen, Bistro, Peel Eats, Taps, and George's. Potter says she has seen a growing number of consumers coming to the retail store since it opened.
The expansion is great. It's nice, spacious, smells good, looks good, and it's easy to get to.
The business is also supplying restaurants in Richmond, Stanton, Charlottesville, Roanoke, Winchester, and Harrisonburg. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Noya Zhou.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, a longtime Lexington resident is running as an independent candidate for the 24th District seat in the House of Delegates.
And your next emergency may be handled from this new facility. We'll have an update for this new headquarters in Lexington, Rockbridge County, and Buena Vista dispatchers.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Each one of our journeys keeps us. Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
We'll never get older. Each one Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Why is my son having trouble in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with my son over his homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No. He's smart, but his mind wanders.
7 wonders of the world.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
As we approach the election in November, the Rockbridge Report will take an in-depth look at the 2 candidates competing for the 24th District seat in the Virginia House of Delegates. Next week, we will sit down with Republican incumbent Delegate Ben Cline. This week, reporter Faith Pinu has the story of independent candidate John Winfrey.
Long before John Winfrey ever considered running for political office, he taught one particularly bright student in an economics class at Washington and Lee University. The two became friends, discussing politics together as professor and student, and eventually as colleagues at W&L. That was 40 years ago, and that student was Phil Cline, the father of Winfrey's opponent, Delegate Ben Cline.
So, yes, I knew Ben Cline when he was born.
and I knew his wife, his mother and so on. So I know the family from way back.
The family connection to Klein did not stop Winfrey from running against him. Winfrey said he made the decision this summer when he learned that Klein would be running unopposed.
And I would certainly change everything that Ben Klein has worked for. If you want to know what my positions are, they're just the opposite. He's against everything that I'm for.
Though he is running as an independent and said he has voted for Republicans in the past, Winfrey sticks close to his Democratic roots. He wants to expand Medicaid in Virginia, months after Republicans in the Virginia House of Delegates voted down a Democratic proposal to expand the reach of Medicaid to more families. The Republicans, including Klein, said the cost of the expansion would be too great for Virginia's budget.
That for me was the straw that broke the camel's back. I just said, I cannot let him get away with that without making a statement.
Winfrey's other major campaign issue is gerrymandering, the drawing of electoral districts by one party to keep itself in power. On either side of the aisle, Winfrey says, this is cheating. He says his position against gerrymandering helps him appeal to Republican and Democratic voters alike. Rockbridge County Democratic Committee Chair Jay Clark says it's unusual for independents from this area to win government seats. And while local Democrats have helped him get his message out, Clark says the local committee has decided not to officially endorse Winfrey.
In his own words, he sort of sees himself as a sacrificial goat, that he thinks, and he's right in this, that for the sake of democracy, there ought to be contested elections.
Clark's take on the chance that Winfrey could win the delegate seat?
None.
Still, the pink signs popping up on lawns throughout the county indicate that Winfrey holds a base of supporters. Alicia Jossman, a member of the Rockbridge County Democratic Committee for over 25 years.
I feel like Ben Klein's been out of touch with the values I hold dear, so I am excited to have someone to vote for.
82-year-old Winfrey says whatever the outcome this fall, he will be glad when the election is over so he can get back to his regular schedule of playing tennis and golf. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Faith Pinu.
Black bear populations have stabilized in Rockbridge County since 2009. The Associated Press reports the state is expecting a record number of kills this hunting season. Jamie Sajaki with the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries said that the increase may be due to longer bear hunting seasons and the legalization of hunting on Sundays and on private properties. Sajaki says that with over 17,000 bears in the state of Virginia, residents should be prepared if they run into one.
Rockbridge County announced back in February that it would soon move its 911 dispatch center to a new location outside of Buena Vista. However, in the 8 months since, that move has barely started. The Rockbridge Report's Keenan Willard has the update.
This facility at 100 Boehner Lane in Buena Vista is now the new home of Rockbridge County's Fire and EMS Department.
We actually took occupancy about the middle of September, and so we're real pleased with it. It's a nice building, fortunate to have it.
The county originally intended for the facility to host its central 911 dispatch by this point, but the move has been slower than anticipated. Current estimates project that the dispatch center won't be fully set up and operational until February of 2018 at the earliest. While Rockbridge County maintains only 2 paid fire and EMS staffers to serve the Lexington district, officials say that the county's comprehensive volunteer firefighter program provides enough assistance to pick up the slack.
This is actually a pretty central part of the county, so if we're at work, chances are pretty good that we'll have a pretty quick response to any part of the county.
As of now, the dispatch center's move continues to progress gradually, with staffers transferring equipment over from the current facility in downtown Buena Vista several days each week.
It's going to be a big upgrade from what they're used to working in, and so we're excited about having them in the same building as us too.
For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Keenan Willard.
Next, we'll have all you need to know on local and college sports. And a few of Lexington's finest chefs are redefining what it means to eat fast food.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
It's fine that other people like you. It's more important that you like yourself. And I'm comfortable with every part of me. Meals on Wheels coming to my door as someone who's housebound assures me that I'm not forgotten. They care that I'm okay. My name is Asha Ida Bell. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Mountain View Elementary School recently celebrated its selection as a National Blue Ribbon School. Principal Lori Teague says that the school's success is in large part of the result of collaborative efforts among students, parents, and teachers. Mountain View is one of 7 schools in Virginia to be selected for Blue Ribbon honors. Mountain View will be recognized at the ceremony in Washington, D.C. next month with other Blue Ribbon honorees.
Last weekend was a series of wins for W&L Sports. Tell us about it, Paige.
That's right, Aspen. Last weekend kicked off with the ODAC relays for men's and women's swimming. Both teams took first place, gearing up for their meet at Randolph-Macon this Saturday. Meanwhile, Virginia Wesleyan and Mary Washington fell to W&L volleyball last Saturday. The volleyball team beat Virginia Wesleyan 3-1 and Mary Washington 3-0. W&L men's soccer also grabbed 2 victories this past week, defeating Virginia Wesleyan 2-1 on Saturday and Emory and Henry 3-0 on Wednesday. Shenandoah women's soccer fell to W&L 3-1 on Tuesday, while Roanoke field hockey lost 2-0 against W&L. And W&L football took the field at home last Saturday, defeating the Guilford Quakers 47-26. First-year running back Josh Brees rushed a career high of 223 yards, tying for the 4th most rushing yardage in school history. It's going to be a big weekend for area college football teams with SVU at Salisbury and W&L at Hampton-Sydney. VMI plays Western Carolina after their loss to Furman last weekend, 42-10. Rockbridge County High School varsity football plays at home this Friday after defeating Waynesboro last week, 35-28 in overtime. The Wildcats will face the Spotswood Trailblazers. Also coming up on Friday, the Washington and Lee men's lacrosse team will host the 30th annual Lee Jackson Lacrosse Classic against VMI. It is one of the longest rivalries in NCAA lacrosse, going back to 1986. Back to you.
If you have a craving for new food choices in Lexington, you're in luck. A newly appointed zoning ordinance will allow an entirely new kind of restaurant in the city, as Catherine Young reports.
For the first time since 1976, the City of Lexington zoning ordinance got an update. One of the most notable changes was allowing for mobile restaurants within city limits. That is, food trucks, a popular trend that has reached Harrisonburg and Charlottesville. Lexington officials researched other cities' mobile restaurant ordinances. Many cities allow mobile restaurants only on private property with the property owner's permission. Lexington's ordinance is less strict.
We took that one step further and are actually allowing them on public property. So they will be allowed on public property in the downtown, the commercial zone district.
Other restrictions for mobile restaurants include requiring owners to have a business license from the city, requiring mobile restaurants to be at least 50 feet away from any other brick-and-mortar restaurant doors, and forcing restaurants to set up, break down, and serve food within a 6-hour window. Colin Donnelly, owner of Lex-Mex Tacos, began operating his food trailer in the spring. Before Lexington allowed mobile restaurants, he operated in Rockbridge County.
Certainly we're not inventing the food, mobile food, but it's not something that you see around here, mostly because it was illegal. But in bigger cities you see it a lot, but just in smaller cities you usually don't see them.
Colin Donnelly suggested that City Council add a mobile restaurant ordinance when the zoning ordinance was being redone.
Left to their own devices, they never would have done it, just because there is people who want it, but nobody was stepping up saying, I'm trying to open a business, why are you not letting me open a business? And so we finally were, and so then they finally actually had to address that.
The new zoning ordinance, which was approved by City Council on October 5th, will allow new dining options to move into Lexington. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Catherine Young.
Mobile restaurants can be found around town at breweries, farmers markets, and other local events. And that's it for the Rockbridge Report. Thanks for watching.
Meantime, you can stay current on news in our county by logging on to rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.